Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. So today we are creating a traditional British countryside home because I haven't really created a lot of builds with like a British architecture style. So yeah, I just felt like it was a bit necessary to create something unique on the channel as I've been building quite a lot of farmhouses recently, which although it's in kind of like the same style as this, I just felt like this was a bit different in terms of like the different like materials used and like the different colors. And this looks a lot more like traditional, as I mentioned before, like in comparison to like farmhouses that you would usually see in like, to be honest, like in any LA neighborhood, to be honest. So I just felt like changing it up a bit and like creating something unique and stuff. So I decided to build in Henford on Bagley, which is kind of like one of my favorite worlds when it comes to like creating builds that are not really that big, to be honest, because I just feel like a lot of the worlds in this a lot of the lots in this world are like perfectly sized, and I just really like the environment that it's in, to be honest, and I like the farm culture, and I just felt like it was the perfect place to build this British manor in. And as you can see from like the exterior so far, like I had to skip quite a lot of it because it was just taking an insane amount of time. But this is kind of like the general outline that I have gone with, as I just felt like a lot of these British manors are like very like wide and like rectangular, and they have like some like pokey bits like coming out from either side and stuff. And I took a lot of inspiration from like a few Pinterest builds that I've seen throughout like when I was like just like scrolling through just to like get some like ideas and stuff. And I saw one that had like this specific balcony that was like coming out from like the center of the home and was covering the front door. So I just felt like incorporating something like that, which made the house look kind of like elegant and interesting. Yeah, let me know how you guys think this build turned out in the comments below. I'd love to know like what you guys think and like your suggestions and stuff. Just to like add on to like making the build more interesting, I did raise it up on a train and also use like platforms throughout the home just to like add more like diversity and like create a more like unique living space, if that makes sense. And I went with like this very dark red brick, a really good brick that worked well. But I at the same time I did want this home to look a bit old and like run down, was trying as if it was like built here for like quite a while now. And I placed a lot of like ivy and vines and like yeah, just like a lot of plants throughout this home just to make it look a bit more like lived in and not something that was like newly built, if that makes sense. But yeah, I had to really make sure with like I place these properly because I don't really like how the vines like seep into the build, like when it like breaks through the wall. So yeah, I did make sure to have less of that effect as much as possible because I really don't like when there's like plants looking into like the build and like into the rooms and stuff. So yeah, I placed it like very like strategically, if you want to call it that, to be honest. But yeah, I created like this outline throughout the entire home just to like cover the area of the build, and it kind of like covered the terrain around the build as well. And I used a debug like fence piece which had like very nice detailing at the front of it and had like these like metal bits at the back of it, but I wasn't too bothered by it. But the front looked really nice like of the fence piece. So yeah, I just placed that like throughout the entire home and like lowered it down using the tool mod. And I've been using a lot of these cypress trees recently, even in like my previous farmhouse builds as well that are on the channel. I don't know, I just feel like it just looks very nice and elegant, to be honest. I like the way they look. They just look like very like sophisticated and like clean looking, as if they're like well taken care of, which is why I use it in a lot of like my modern builds. But yeah, you guys can let me know what you think about that. But I just feel like when I size it down, it just looks perfect. I don't really like using it in its like regular size because it's just a bit too big. And yeah, I just feel like when you size it down, it also has its like own shadow. And yeah, I just like I covered the area around the build with a lot of like plants and greenery, as you know, I just feel like that resonates really well with like a British countryside home. And you guys can see like already like there is a bunch of like ivy and vines growing throughout this entire home. But like I still want it to look like it was like well kept, because like just because you have like a lot of vines and ivy around your home does not mean it's not well kept. But yeah, I just incorporated like various different elements throughout the entire home. And I did include a pool, which I feel like not a lot of British manors and estates have that, but I did want to include it here just because like it just adds to the overall like wealthiness of this home, if that makes sense. Like I want it to be like a wealthy person's home, in the countryside. So yeah, I just wanted to incorporate a lot of these like unique features that a rich and expensive home will have. And I created this like nice like lawn design at the front of the home as well as like throughout the back as well in some parts of the build because I just felt like it looks really nice and sophisticated. As I was mentioning before, like it looks well taken care of, whereas like at the same time there's also those like ivies and vines on the wall that don't look really well taken care of, but like maybe they're there for like design purposes, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just created like a very nice detailed like garden with like a bunch of different plants throughout the entire place. And I also made a curved swimming pool. But yeah, moving on to the interior, I don't show myself in the floor plan or anything because I just to like save time, to be honest. But yeah, I just went with like a very nice like elegant looking wallpaper that I feel like was very like traditional looking. And I also used this like herringbone style flooring, which yeah, I just feel like it resonates well with like a British home, to be honest. And I went with like a very simple kitchen, which is where we're starting off with right now, because in a traditional home, I did want to also keep it minimalistic and also like this, like something that resonates with like the style that I like, to be honest. And I just feel like this kitchen looks amazing to me. It's like a plain, nice white kitchen. I don't know if you guys would like a plain kitchen like this, but personally I like plain looking stuff like this. But yeah, I just utilized the cottage living pack to create this kitchen, and I don't know if I like the blue that is under the island counters, but I still went with it as I didn't really want to utilize a bunch of different packs. So I could have gone with like a different island counter from like a different pack, but I just decided to like stay with the same thing just to like simplify um my building process, to be honest, and just to make it more like accessible, to be honest, because someone who has cottage living would be able to easily download this and just like utilize the kitchen as it is rather than having to replace something if they don't have it. But yeah, I create like a standalone like coffee table unit section thingy on one part of the wall, and I kind of went with like an open floor plan when it came to like the main like necessary rooms, so like the living room and the kitchen both share like a really big room divided by like one wall in the middle, which I don't know, I kind of like doing that because it makes the home feel like more open floor plan. I don't know if it really ties in with like with the I don't know if it ties in with how traditional homes really are. I don't know if it ties in with how traditional homes really are, as they really have like a lot of like closed in rooms and stuff. But yeah, for this build, I wanted to create like some elements of modern styles as well as like some traditional ones. So yeah, I created like this very nice like seating area that I felt like was perfect as that part was like kind of like sticking out from the exterior. So I just felt like it was very necessary to put like a nice circular table there as like a dining table. And I do incorporate quite a lot of like clutter in this home, which I did have to like skip out on because it was just taking like such a long time to furnish every single room and put all these like small details in. And yeah, moving on to the moving on to the living room. I feel like this is like the only furniture piece that is very modern in this home. I didn't because like because I didn't really because I didn't really use a lot of Dream Home Decorator in this build. So yeah, this is kind of like one of the most modern pieces in this home, as nothing else really looks this fancy, to be honest. A lot of it kind of just looks like contemporary furniture, which you'll see throughout the build. And I use a lot of these like contemporary rugs that I didn't even know existed in the game because I don't use them. I don't really like focus on a lot of like traditional like furniture pieces. So yeah, it was kind of like interesting and a unique build for me as well as for the channel because like it's not a style that I usually do. So it was kind of like fun to like explore different styles and create like more unique rooms and like furniture pieces and designs, if that makes sense. But yeah, I did go ahead and use that painting that is disguised as a TV because I don't know, I just feel like it's very appropriate even in like traditional and modern homes because like I don't know, it's just like a good way of like placing a TV and an image in the same position, if that makes sense, which is exactly what it is. But yeah, this home consists of 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. 6 bedrooms if you consider the nursery, but I just felt like that room was a bit too small to be classified as like its own bedroom. So yeah, I'll just say like 5 bedroom, 5 bathroom. And most of the bedrooms do have their own ensuite, which is something that I have thought about for like the traditional home, but obviously not every single one does have their own ensuite because I don't know. I just felt like traditionally, like I don't know if they would actually build an ensuite for every single bedroom. So yeah, I just took that into consideration and created like two or three main bathrooms on the first and second floor that aren't really like specific to a certain bedroom. There's also a bunch of like hallway space and like a lot of like huge like entryways and stuff that I furnished in like unique ways and incorporated like a lot of like traditional furniture pieces such as like cabinetries, wall tables, side tables, a bunch of like shelving and like bookshelves and stuff. I don't know, I just felt like it created a more like unique feel for this build. And I use these arches that came from Cats and Dogs because they're my favorite. They look modern, but I feel like they're versatile and can be used in like pretty much any build. To be honest, like it's not really specific to like just modern builds, in my opinion. And I did also include like a lot of like plants and like foliage throughout the entire home, not only on the exterior but also in the interior. Because I felt like it was a nice way to like clutter up the space without making it look too busy, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is one of the bathrooms that are on that is on the first floor, which I don't know, like I kind of gave the walls and the flooring like a more modern look to it as they're like very tiled, and I don't think a lot of traditional bathrooms would have that in their homes. However, like as I was mentioning before, I did incorporate certain modern elements in this home as well as traditional ones. So I feel like realistically, if someone was to move into a traditional home like this, they would most likely like renovate bathrooms first, as they would, like have the worst functionality or like they just wouldn't look that great, to be honest. So yeah, I just felt like making the bathrooms look a bit more modern in comparison to the other rooms made a bit more sense to me, which is why I did that. And I kind of like the mix between like traditional and modern furniture like within a home anyway. So yeah, I just felt like that was perfect, and it just gave me the opportunity to use unique furniture pieces that I don't really use often in my other builds. So yeah, I just created like a bunch of different unique spaces with like different furniture pieces. And this home also has its own office, as you guys saw. It has like a whole like dark brown theme, which I feel like resonates well with a traditional family home. And I also incorporated like a little like book nook kit, using the book nook kit literally into like the corner of the room, which I felt worked well and looked nice and was like kind of like appropriate in like a nice office. And yeah, we have like one main bedroom in the downstairs, which has its own ensuite, but like it's not a huge bedroom and it's not really like the master bedroom as I was mentioning in my previous build. Like when usually homes have like their master bedrooms on the first floor. This one was definitely not a master bedroom. It was relatively small. It was more of like, a typical bedroom that you would see. And yeah, just like I had like a bunch of space within like the hallways of this home to create and add a bunch of different like clutter and stuff. So I used like old-fashioned mirrors and wall tables and like just like regular seating area that looked a bit more formal, whereas like the living room one looked like less formal. I was really trying to keep with the brown doors, but I don't know, I don't know, like they just didn't look that good after a while, so I ended up changing them to be a plain white, which I feel like looked a lot more better and resonated well with this home, to be honest. Yeah, this is the master bedroom, which kind of had like a more like lighter theme, so it was like a lot more like gold and white. And yeah, I just felt like it was appropriate for this build because like I've been going with a lot of like traditional furniture, right? And I wanted like a few rooms to like stand out a little bit and look a bit more modern and chic. So yeah, like if someone was to like move into this home, most likely their bedroom would be like the most updated room as well as like the bathrooms, if that makes sense. That master bedroom does have its like own walk-in closet as well as its own ensuite, and it has like its own room for like the toilet, which I feel like was kind of like fancy and kind of like made sense for like a British manor like this. I did want to include a room that had like a single bedroom because like I don't know, I don't really use that a lot in my build. So yeah, I just took it upon myself and just like created a unique bedroom that was like blue themed, that was closer to the master bedroom, which I thought looked nice and worked well with the space that I had to work with. And this is another one of the bedrooms that I was working on in this build, which I don't know, I just kind of wanted to go with like a more red color theme because like I feel like red isn't a color that I usually use in my builds often, but as I was like playing around and like trying to like match stuff with the bed and like the color scheme and like I don't know, I just feel like it didn't really work out that well. So but yeah, I just revised and went with like a different plan and went with like a more whitish beige color scheme in that build rather than a red, because the red was just looking a bit too like strong, and yeah, it just wasn't looking the way I wanted it to be honest. And this was also a bedroom that did have one of their own ensuite. It was quite a large bathroom considering like the bedroom being like relatively small. I don't know. I didn't want to make this bathroom any smaller, nor did I want to make it any bigger, because like it just adds to like the realism. Like I feel like bedrooms and bathrooms are like all random sizes anyway, so I just felt like this would resonated well with like a typical British countryside estate. So I just like stuck with it and like furnished it as if it was like normal and stuff. And although I did have the ability to like change it and stuff, I didn't really want to, because it just added like a different level of like realism. Also included a like a bin in my bathroom, which is not something I usually do. I feel like I used to do that before, but now I don't really do that. But yeah, I'm just like cluttering up, adding some like relative furniture pieces and clutter into the build. And as you can see, like from the area around this build, like you can see like the way I furnished like certain parts of this build, such as like there was like this like grand area on the second floor that had its own like piano and like seating area, while you were passing through to the other bedrooms and stuff. This is the last room in the home that I furnished, which was the nursery. I kind of went with like the same like beige and like white theme and like a cream theme. And yeah, I did try to make it more like kid friendly, and I just like included like a different like wall accent and like shelving and like a bunch of like different like kids furniture and toys, as well as like necessities such as these specific boxes that had like a bunch of like nappies on it, and like yeah, just like clutter just to make it more like homey and interesting. Yeah, just like a typical nursery that you would see, to be honest. And I made it close to the master bedroom purely because like, it makes sense for like the parents to be close to their child. And yeah, I'm just going around like, furnishing the entire home and like putting more decor in and cluttering it up. But yeah, it seems that we have came towards the end of the speed build. If you guys liked it, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. I have a bunch more videos on the channel that you guys can check out. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.